In this video, I'm going to tell you the real truth about what stops people from getting started with learning how to swim as an adult and how to overcome this huge obstacle. This is a story for about half of the population because that's about how many people miss out on the joy and freedom of being a swimmer. The real culprit to missing out is not knowing how to swim with calm confidence, safety, and ease. So you end up being rushed and confused and overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. Swimming is supposed to be fun and easy and joyful, and so should the learning process. I'm Corey Micah, and after 20 plus years of teaching adults how to swim, I've had hundreds of conversations to find out what the tipping point is to finally overcome the confusion and overwhelm and to being able to say yes to learning to swim. I'm going to share that with you today and give you the 3-step process to overcome this obstacle. Now, don't worry, this is something you actually already know how to do because you do it in other areas of life. You just haven't applied it to swimming yet. When you know what's getting in your way and how to overcome it, you will be on the road to confidence and joy and never missing out again. Without these steps, at best, nothing changes. At worst, your negative feelings around the water will get worse and worse and worse over time. So let's jump in and make a change. Now, before we go into the direction of swimming, I'm going to take a moment and tell a little side story. Remember how I said not to worry because you already have the skill to overcome the biggest obstacle? Let's find out how really good you are at this already, and we can take that power into your adult learn to swim journey. So here we go. Let's just take a moment and imagine way back to human evolution. I know, it's a really big story. Humans have been around for a long time. Lots of changes have had. But let's go over some of the highlights here. So we'll go way back in time and see there was a time where people just lived out in the elements. You know, kind of like how we see animals live today out in the elements. And that was okay. That worked for whatever period of time. But then we figured out, being in the cave was better. It was warmer, it was out of the wind and the rain, or protected from the blazing sun. It was comfortable. Just like we started with collecting food in the season, which was okay. But at some point, we started growing food on purpose and keeping animals. So we had more food, and we had food during the lean times, right? It made life more comfortable. Step by step, we moved away from outside living with all the seasons, and we moved more and more towards comfort of shelter, of clothing, of food storage, fire for heat and cooking. So let's fast forward to today, where we have comfort on steroids, right? As compared to our ancestors. Our clothes are so weather resistant, we could be out in the harshest environments safely. Our food is so plentiful for many, many people, not all, but many, many people. We have such calorie-dense, concentrated food that many adults, we store lots of extra food on our body, right, that we don't need. You know, I know, we've got a little back here, a little over here. So even though our life today, as compared to our ancestors of way back, has so much comfort, we are still so hardwired for comfort that we continue to seek that comfort. This is how we get sucked into a very passive environment of keeping the environment exactly the way it is. It's more comfortable to finish watching this video and just let the next YouTube video run. Even though we might have intention and desire for something else, to get up and do something else, it's very comfortable to just continue on. Social media, right, is one of these places that comfort is on steroids. Like they lean into this very basic human desire for comfort and staying the same, even when it kind of feels terrible. But that terrible feeling, like, oh my gosh, I'm just kind of crumpling my body, because I know that's how I get when I start being on a device for too long, right? I crumple in and my body actually starts to hurt and ache and all these kinds of things. But it has a degree of comfort because there's no change. Change inherently has a certain amount of discomfort to it. Our human design is to seek comfort and to avoid pain that is real or perceived, that we think change is going to inherently be uncomfortable. This is the number one thing that stops us from learning to swim. The way we have been before is more comfortable than doing something that potentially is uncomfortable. Now, before you start beating yourself up, I invite you to pause and just to be curious about this normal human desire for comfort. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not somehow defective. You shouldn't blame yourself or call yourself a quitter or see all the ways that you just never really do what you say you're going to do. Does that sound familiar? So just put a pin in that tendency to go there. And here's where I'm going to give you the 3-step process to overcome this normal and powerful human trait to seek comfort. These 3 steps come from our learning model, The Foundation of Change. Step number 1 is to start right where you are without judgment. What is the story you're telling yourself about this propensity to seek comfort? Step number 2 is to have a safety plan. If you're going to go from the comfort of the known to doing something new, we can't be too far away from comfort. We have to know that we're physically and emotionally safe in order for us to take step number 3, which is an action step. But an action step that is so close to comfort that you can actually execute it. It's not a huge step that causes overwhelm and confusion, right? That's going to keep us in the zone of comfort and not change. So let's dive into these a little bit more. Step number 1 is starting right where you are. What's the story you're telling yourself right now about the desire to be in comfort? Since you know it's normal as a human to seek comfort by default, we most often choose the comfort we know than the potential comfort of something new. How long did it take from our ancestors to go from being in a cave to building that house? Since not very many of us live in caves today, there were a few people who actually did move into step 2 to create a safety plan to try something new. Step 2, that safety plan. Because of our desire and need for comfort, if we want to step out of the cave into a brave new world of something new, having a safety plan to bridge that gap there so we have enough comfort to face discomfort of something new. In swimming, we boiled the safety plan down to, the physical safety plan down to, can I get air easily anytime I want? So when you go to take an online course, you could ask yourself, can I get air anytime I want? It might seem like an obvious thing. Of course, if I'm sitting at home on my computer taking an online class, learning about the next steps, I'll be able to get air. But it's important to show your brain this, that you are from the very beginning prioritizing your physical safety plan, which is I can get air anytime I want easily. And then you also need to have an emotional safety plan that you know you're not going so far outside of comfort that you're going to become panicked and overwhelmed. that you're keeping track of that emotional safety, that I am calm enough, I'm in charge of my emotional state, that I'm not flipping out, right? This is why we start online. We start in shallow pools. We start in a pool before the ocean. We start in a bay before the boat, right? That we're constantly, as we go, creating and showing ourselves we have a safety plan for physical and our emotional safety, so that we can actually do step number 3, which is to take some sort of action. This is the key piece. We need these mental preparation steps to figure out what is a small step that I can take that still keeps me close to comfort. It's not such a big step that I feel I'm so far away from comfort that I can't do it. Or when I do it, I check out and I leave, so I'm not able to learn from it. We have to actually take a step. We have to step that toe out of the cave to do something new. But we need to do it in a way that we can stay present and learn the information from it. So for your swimming, this could be taking a step like doing the online preparing for an adult swimming lesson, right? Where you get to figure out, oh, there's all these questions and preparation I can do ahead of time. This is part of taking those steps that is moving me forward. Imagine our ancestors didn't go from being in the cave to in a house in one day. Because we look at the whole big story from a 50,000 foot view, we just look at the broad, big steps. But there are tiny steps that had to be taken to move along this change over time. Now, remember when I said you don't need to worry that you know how to do this already? This is because even though your desire for comfort is so powerful, you actually overcome this desire all the time, every single day. I mean, just last night for me, I had the desire to stay on my comfortable couch, continuing to just let Netflix run, even though I knew morning me was going to appreciate if I went upstairs and got into my bed and laid down and turned the stimulating bright light TV off. But it took a while. I was staying in the comfort, but I also do have the skills of moving and transitioning. It was uncomfortable to take the warm, cozy blanket off and get myself up and haul myself upstairs and brush my teeth too in between. I have this ability to leave comfort, even though it's super powerful, right? There are times when you do turn off the social media and move on and go into something else. But let's take a look at these questions you might want to ask yourself about this process. How often do you look at the ways that you break your cycle of comfort and are proud of yourself? I'm guessing you're not looking at like, yeah, I did get up off the couch at 10:30 at night or 11 or 12 or 1 or whatever time it was. But eventually I did get up. I got up off that couch, did the uncomfortable thing of walking through my chilly house and got to my bed and tucked in to where my body was going to get a better night's sleep. I did that. How often are you proud of yourself for these things? How often are you looking at the ways that you remain in the comfort and you belittled yourself? Well, I really should have gotten up off that couch 30 minutes earlier, an hour earlier. I never go to bed on time. I never follow through with my exercise or my eating plan or my goals for the year. How much time do you spend in that belittling conversation? Why is this important to notice this? Because the judgment and the criticism, even though it can feel terrible, it's a way to keep us the same. It's a way to stay in that cycle where there's little risk, It's really known there's very little effort in making any change. When we just play the movie over and over again of how we don't overcome our discomfort. This is what our brain wants to do, going for a circle back to the top. Our brain wants us to stay in comfort. It doesn't want us to change. So we stay in this judgment part more than we go into this pride part. It's so important to notice how we're doing step number 1, which is how we tell the story about ourselves. How much time do you give your brain to see how you do and you can overcome this very powerful desire towards comfort and sameness? You did it here. You watched this video. It might have been more comfortable and fun to watch another cat video or something like that, all right? Or whatever, a video that you know something about already. You actually said something about, I can change my story. I know I can do this step. It's safe enough for me to watch this swimming video and to see what's in it for me. And you pressed play and you've watched all the way to here. Amazing. Take it in. You are a person that seeks change, that seeks a new kind of comfort than the comfort that you know. You're a person who can take action. Swimming is supposed to be fun and easy, and so is the learning process. Click to subscribe so you can learn some more. Scroll down and take an action step that you can take another class, move yourself forward, leaning forward into that part of you that does desire new comfort and new change in the future. We'll see you next time. Bye, swimmers.